another episode of Go Running Talks. My name is Lena. I'm the founder of Go Running Tours. And every 2 weeks, I speak to one of our guides, a guest or partner that's part of Go Running Tours. And today I'm sitting with Julia in San Francisco, who's my colleague in San Francisco. So Julia, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Julia. I've lived in San Francisco for close to 20 years, or at least 20 years in the Bay Area. I've been running for even longer than that. I think ever since I moved. I first came out to Berkeley for school and then moved across the Bay to the city. But all that time I've always been running. And I've been with Go Running Tours, I think it's 2 years now, slowly building up a set of routes and knowledge about all the different places around the city. And I don't know, I always tell myself if I ever get tired or bored of running across the Golden Gate Bridge, then something is wrong. And that has certainly not happened yet. So I hope it never happens.
So do I, because then I would lose you as a colleague. So let's really hope that doesn't happen. Julia, I mean, how long have you been running? How did you get into running to begin with?
I joined the track team my first year of high school. So I guess I was 14 or 15. I grew up playing tennis. I did a lot of sports. And track was just something to do. Like my friends were doing it, and it was after school, and it was probably just a way to hang out with other people and just hang around at school and get exercise. And I just sort of stuck with it. I was definitely nowhere near one of the fastest people on the team. Probably, I wouldn't say slowest, but definitely in the back. And I just kind of stuck with it. It was fun. It was something to do. And then I just sort of kept running. And I think living in San Francisco, you see people jogging everywhere. People are very into sports. The weather is good for that. So it was like just a very easy thing to continue. Like, I think most people I know here have run a marathon or at least a half marathon, which it seems kind of crazy if you think about it. So it's very natural to just sort of keep running.
You mentioned sort of that you see people out in San Francisco all the time, and you're also part of the running community in San Francisco. It seems when I live in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and sometimes there's these articles saying, oh, there's this new running trend. It started in San Francisco. So it seems like it's a very unique running community, at least when you sit from the outside. Is it a unique running community in San Francisco? Does it differ from other places in the US or not?
That's a good question. I think one thing that makes it unique here is very easy access to trails. Like, so I actually love running on the sidewalk in the middle of the city, but it's also like I could leave my house on foot and be at some beautiful kind of world-class trails, even within the city, in 30 minutes. So that I think is something that makes it unique. And then certainly as you go even further and further, there's like these beautiful coastal trails that certainly exist in some places, but it's really nice to have them here and to have a sort of mild climate that you can take advantage of any day of the year.
Excellent. And do you have, in all the years that you've been running, do you have one running moment that sort of stands out and thinking this is the best running memory I have, or sort of one thing that stands out?
Best running memory. That's a good question. Maybe from crossing the finish line at the Ironman California. That was a good moment.
It's one of those moments as well that don't come for free, right? It's one of those you really have to work hard for.
Yeah, maybe that's an easy one. But there's probably, I think, some of these moments. What I really love is the early morning running along the water when it's sort of like the city is waking up. I think that those sort of regular everyday runs that you're usually trying to squeeze in before work or something else. Those are really the collective moments that I love.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And do you have a worst memory where something went wrong, or where you've just been really digging deep thinking, what am I doing here?
Yes, I definitely do. I don't know if you've ever seen this in the like rules or regulations of a race, but some races they'll say like you can't crawl across the finish line or you can't crawl on the course. And I remember reading this and thinking like, that's so crazy. Why would you ever crawl? And then I did this marathon, the Marine Corps marathon in Washington, D.C. And I think I cramped. It was very hot. I don't know, but I got down on the ground and I actually felt like the only thing I could do was crawl. And then it hit me like, oh, this is horrible. I understand why they have this rule. And I didn't crawl. I eventually walked, but yeah, it was a pretty horrible day.
I think most runners can relate to those days where it's just been very, very hard work. Excellent. So then moving on to the running tours that we have in San Francisco, can you just explain? I mean, people of course listen to this also to hear about the different running tours we have around the world. Can you just explain a little bit about the different tours that you have?
Yeah. The most popular tour is just kind of hitting the highlights of the city. So a lot of people stay right in the downtown area, and we can go straight from the sort of city center, Union Square, where most of the hotels are, straight out to the waterfront, which is just, I feel like, this sparkling jewel of the city where you see the sun hitting the bay, you see the bridges, and you can run down the water. And there's a lot of kind of interesting history of the city, and especially the waterfront, that's been shaped by earthquakes. So I always sort of talk about how these different earthquakes and different phases of the city have shaped this. And then, we go past the sea lions, which are always really fun, and into Chinatown and some of the old historic buildings. We get a nice little sort of view of all these different segments of the city that are all kind of in a 5K loop. So that's probably the most fun. But then, if you go to the other side of the city, we have a different tour that goes through the park and sees a lot of the hippie culture and some of the imprint. So a totally different kind of view of, not very far apart, but these are totally different slices of the city. And then of course maybe the most scenic and iconic is running to the Golden Gate Bridge, which you really cannot take a bad photo of.
And a lot of our guests really want that photo as well, I
Yes.
think. Yeah. And what about, I mean, I'm a little bit curious about what about the hills, Julia? How do the guests cope with the hills in San Francisco? Is that okay, or do your routes sort of avoid them, or do you add them in for the
You can't really avoid them, but I have a route that it has a slow incline. When I first designed one of these tours, I was doing it myself, and I actually could barely walk up the hill, so I decided to scrap that. If anybody wants to do it, it's still an option, but yeah, we have a more of a gradual incline, but you can't really avoid hills here. It's kind of fun to run up the hill and see the cable car either ahead or behind you, and see if you can kind of race the cable car.
And actually, one thing that I don't know whether you know, but I have one of your pictures in whenever I present Go Running Tours to potential partners or races or collaborators, then one of my slides have you running up a hill. And of all the slides, that's the one that just whenever I switch to that, everyone is like, oof. That looks hard. And I was like, yeah, that's Julia, that's no problem. You can run with her, and she has all the routes as well. But it gets a lot of respect.
Even for as long as I've lived here, I still have to walk on a lot of hills, and I have stairs in my apartment building, and I still get tired at the top of the stairs. So I don't know if you ever really get, some people I run with are masters of this, but I think the key is just to pace yourself on the hills, because, you want to be able to enjoy the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And if a traveler came to San Francisco and they could only choose one of your tours, which one would you recommend?
I would say do the highlights tour. You kind of get a little bit of everything on that. You get the bay and the just appreciating how beautiful the bridges are, and then you get to see some of the history and some of the kind of iconic buildings, and it's just a nice little slice of the city and the history. And of course, there's plenty of places to finish with a nice coffee afterwards.
And then you get people a driverless car. I know when they have to go
Yes,
back.
this has been, I think this is something that I am now very used to this, but it's very fun to see tourists get excited about the driverless cars, because yeah, it is pretty crazy to see them everywhere. So you can see all the different driverless cars, and it's sort of outrageous how many there are on the street.
Excellent. And when you think, just have one last question on the running tours. Is there one moment that sort of stands out to you as a favorite moment when guiding a tour, or did some guest stand out to you?
Yeah, I've had one guest who she's visited 3 times. She works in tech in the Bay Area, so every time she comes, and she travels quite frequently, she'll message me, and it's been fun because I've started to think about, okay, well, what can I show her that she hasn't seen yet? So we've done a few different routes, but she's open to just sort of making up a new tour kind of as we go. And for somebody who is new to the city, it's really exciting to see just how much people light up when they come around a corner and they see that view of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's like, it's just, and she was just so excited for like, wow, I can't. And it wasn't, it was a cloudy day. We have a lot of foggy days, but still, even if the weather's not perfect, this beautiful red bridge is just like, it really is just like all the photos. So it's really fun to take people on that tour, and you just sort of pop out of the woods and it's like, oh my gosh, it's there, wow. So yeah, it's been really fun running with her and with all the guests.
Perfect. And then if we sort of move on from the running tours and then talk about San Francisco, you lived here, as you mentioned, almost 20 years. Is there one thing that you would recommend that travelers do in San Francisco that they probably don't know that they should do? So everyone, of course, knows they should go and see Golden Gate Bridge, but is there something where you think, actually, I would recommend people to do this that they wouldn't really know that they should do?
I think go hang out in the park, bring some food. I think one of the things that's really amazing about living in not just San Francisco, but California in general, we have access to a lot of really like beautiful, fresh food. And certainly there's the culture here of good coffee, good burritos, good ice cream, good everything. So get something nice to eat, bring it to Dolores Park or Golden Gate Park and just sit and enjoy just how beautiful and nice it is to be outdoors.
And is that something that you locals do as well? Would you just grab a burrito and sit in the park and just hang out and chill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
We're lucky because the weather is generally, it's always a little bit cold, so you should always bring a jacket, but it's never too cold, so it's always nice to be outside.
Fantastic. And then I have a last question for you, Julia, and that is one I ask all everyone on the podcast is, do you have one advice for a runner? And it's going to be a beginner or an elite runner or all runners, but do you have one advice that you would give to a runner or to runners?
I would say give yourself permission to walk when you need to, like,
or crawl.
Or crawl, yeah. But I think there's like this, I have to remind myself of this all the time. Like, it's, yeah, you want to run, you want to go as fast as you can, but like you're doing this for fun and for movement. So if you have to walk, especially if you're going up a hill, I don't know, it's, or like, I think about this at the track all the time, like between reps, like, yeah, just, I don't know, slow down. It's fine. You could run on the next one.
Yeah. I think it's a great advice. I think sometimes runners are maybe a little bit too hard on themselves. So they should really just be happy that they're out, they made it out, they're running some of the way, or they're running maybe not as fast as they want, but they made it out, and they'll probably make it out the day after as well. Cool. All right. Julia, I have no other questions. Thanks for joining and
thank you for
sharing
having
a little
me.
bit about San Francisco and your tours. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, and also thank you, of course, for being part of Go Running Tours and our colleague. But thank you very much. Gotta go, go, go.